The small house with big dreams in a narrow street at the edge of the city stood a small, old house with cracked walls and a rusted iron gate. It wasn't beautiful, but it was filled with love. Inside lived David and Martha Wilson, a couple who owned very little but dreamed very big. David worked as a construction laborer. His hands were always rough, his clothes always dusty. Martha stitched clothes for neighbors late into the night, her eyes growing weaker with every passing year. They had 2 children, Ethan and Sophie, but the day their children were born, David and Martha made a silent promise: our children will never suffer the way we did, and they kept that promise, even if it meant breaking themselves. Sleepless nights and empty plates. There were many nights when food was not enough. Martha would smile and say, "I already ate earlier," but she hadn't. David would laugh and say, "I'm not hungry tonight." They would watch their children eat, their hearts full even when their stomachs were empty. When Ethan fell sick at age 5, David sold the only gold ring he had, his father's last memory, to pay hospital bills. When Sophie needed school books, Martha worked 3 extra nights without sleep. They never complained, not once. Growing up years passed. Ethan grew into a smart, confident young man. Sophie became kind and beautiful. The small house slowly filled with certificates, trophies, and dreams. David would often say proudly to neighbors, "My son will become a big officer one day." Martha would whisper, "My daughter will live like a queen." They believed their sacrifices were investments in love. He first changed. Success came. Ethan got a high-paying corporate job in the city. Sophie married into a wealthy family. The day Ethan received his appointment letter, David cried like a child. But slowly, something changed. Phone calls became shorter. Visits became rare. Ethan started feeling embarrassed by his father's rough clothes and simple language. "Dad, you don't have to come to my office," he once said. "It's not your type of place." Their words were soft, but they cut deep. The wedding. When Ethan decided to marry, he chose a modern, ambitious woman named Olivia. Olivia came from a rich background. She wasn't used to small houses or simple meals. During the wedding preparations, she looked around David's old home and whispered to Ethan, "We can't live here after marriage." Ethan hesitated, but he said nothing. After the marriage, Ethan and Olivia moved into the small house temporarily. Olivia complained daily, "This place is too small. There's no privacy. Your parents are always around." David tried harder to stay out of the way. Martha woke up earlier than everyone to clean and cook, hoping to keep peace, but no effort was enough. The conversation that broke everything. One evening, Ethan called his parents into the living room. He couldn't look into their eyes. "Mom, Olivia and I have decided to move into a new apartment." David forced a smile. "That's good, son. You deserve better." There was silence. Then Ethan continued quietly, "It would be better if you found somewhere else to stay, though." World stopped. Martha blinked, not understanding. "Somewhere else?" "Yes," Ethan said. "The house will be renovated and sold. We need the money for our new life." The house. The only thing they owned. The house built with David's blood and Martha's tears. A door closed the next week. Their bags were packed. No argument. No fight. Just silence. David placed the house keys in Ethan's hand. "This was always yours," he said gently. Martha touched the wall one last time. Every corner held memories, first steps, birthday candles, lullabies as they stepped outside. The iron gate made a loud sound. It felt like the house was crying too. And then the door closed. The cold night. They had nowhere to go. An old friend offered a small room behind his shop. It was dark and damp, but they were grateful. That night, Martha finally cried, not loudly, not dramatically, just silent tears rolling onto a thin pillow. David stared at the ceiling and whispered, "Maybe we failed somewhere." The truths of time. Months passed. Ethan got busier. Olivia focused on a new lifestyle. Meanwhile, David's health began to decline. Years of hard labor had weakened his heart. Martha started working again despite her age. One winter night, David collapsed in the hospital. Martha sat beside him, holding his fragile hand. He smiled weakly. "Don't blame them," he whispered. "They are just lost." Those were his last clear words. Ethan received a phone call. "Your father is critical." For the first time in years, fear entered his heart. He rushed to the hospital, but he was late. David had already closed his eyes forever. Ethan stood frozen. He noticed his father's hands, still rough, still scarred. Hands had built his future. Hands he had pushed away. The final goodbye. The funeral. Martha had stood like a broken tree. Ethan tried to speak to her, but she looked older than ever. "Sorry, Mom," he whispered. Martha smiled faintly. "Take care of your home, son," she said. Her words carried a meaning he would only understand later. Karma's quiet returned months later. Ethan faced financial loss. His company downsized. Olivier grew distant. Arguments filled their expansive apartment one day. Olivier left. Ethan sat alone in a house that felt empty despite its size for the first time. He understood. A big house without love is just walls. The realization. He went searching for his mother. He found her in the small rented room, sewing clothes again under weak light. She looked smaller, fragile, yet peaceful. Ethan fell to his knees. "I threw away the people who built me," he cried. Martha placed her trembling hand on his head. "A mother never throws her child away," she whispered. The true Hamithan brought Martha to live with him again, but this time, not out of duty, out of understanding. He kept his father's old tools on a shelf as a reminder. Every time he touched them, he remembered the price of his success. Parents spend their youth building a home for their children. Children often spend their youth building a new life, forgetting who built the foundation. But time has a way of teaching lessons no words can. Some doors close quietly, but the echo of love never fades. The weight of guilt after bringing his mother back home. Ethan could not sleep peacefully anymore. Every corner of the apartment reminded him of his mistakes. The expensive sofa, the shining floor, the silent walls. None of it felt warm. One night he saw his mother quietly folding his clothes. "Mom, you don't have to do this," he said softly. Martha smiled gently. A mother never stops being a mother. Her words were simple, but they carried the weight of years. Ethan looked at her trembling hands. Those hands had once carried him when he couldn't walk. Now they shook while holding his shirt. For the first time, he realized success had made him rich, but it had also made him blind. The visit to the old house one afternoon. Ethan drove to the street where his childhood house once stood. The old iron gate was gone. The cracked walls had been demolished. A modern building now stood there. He stood silently on the sidewalk in his mind. He could still see his father fixing the roof under the hot sun. He could still hear his mother calling him inside for dinner. But reality was different. The house was gone, and with it, a part of his soul. Tears filled his eyes as he whispered, "Dad, I'm sorry." For the first time, he truly understood what he had taken away. A mother's secret that evening. Ethan noticed Martha coughing badly. He insisted on taking her to the doctor. The reports were not good. Years of hard work and stress had weakened her body. She needed rest, something she had never given herself. Ethan felt another wave of guilt. "How long have you been feeling unwell?" he asked. She smiled softly. "Mothers don't get sick, son. They just get tired." But this time Ethan refused to ignore it. He started cooking for her. He adjusted his work schedule. He sat beside her every evening and listened to her stories. Stories he once thought were boring now. They were precious. The letter one rainy afternoon while cleaning an old drawer. Ethan found a small envelope. It was written in his father's handwriting. With shaking hands, he opened it. Inside was a letter. "If you are reading this, it means time has taught you what we never could. Son, life is not about big houses or money. It is about who stands beside you when everything falls. If you ever realize your mistake, don't punish yourself forever. Just become better. That'll be enough for us." Ethan broke down. His father had never been angry. Never bitter, only loving. And that love hurt more than any punishment. The true inheritance later. Ethan made a decision. He sold the luxury apartment. Instead of buying something bigger, he purchased a modest home, not grand, but warm. On the main wall, he placed a framed photo of his father and mother from their younger days. He also started visiting orphanages and old age homes, quietly helping elderly couples who had been abandoned by their children. One evening, as the sun set softly through the window, Martha sat beside him. "You've changed," she said gently. Ethan looked at her and replied, "No, Mom, I finally became the son you raised." Martha's eyes filled with tears, not of pain this time, but of peace. Years later, when Martha's time quietly came, she left this world with her son holding her hand. And this time, he was not late. Final message for viewers: parents give their youth, their strength, their dreams without asking for anything in return. Sometimes children forget, but life always teaches. The real inheritance is not property. It is love, a sacrifice, and forgiveness, and those who understand it never truly lose their home again. Asterisk.